Why is the Ice King so sad under all that weird? Let's rewind to where it all started. Holly Jolly secrets. If you've ever laughed at Ice King being his usual creepy self, kidnapping princesses, crashing parties, or singing to Gunter in a weird falsetto, then Holly Jolly Secrets is the episode that flips your whole understanding of him on its head. What starts off as a goofy Christmas special turns into a tragedy disguised in VHS static. We begin with Finn and Jake stumbling over a box of Ice King's old video diaries. They think they're about to uncover his darkest secrets. Maybe something funny, maybe something embarrassing. But what they get instead? A heart-wrenching confession. And we, the audience, are right there with them, watching history literally rewind in front of us. The tape revealed that the Ice King wasn't always the Ice King. He used to be Simon Petrikov, a normal human man, a kind-hearted, nerdy archaeologist who just loves history and artifacts. Simon found a magical crown, thought it was just another interesting relic, and without knowing, put it on. That one action changed everything. This is where everything starts crumbling. The crown begins warping his mind, slowly at first. He'd black out, forget things, see hallucinations, but he kept it on anyway. Why? Because it gave him power. And when that world started falling apart, when the Mushroom War left everything in chaos, Simon thought maybe, just maybe, that power could help him survive, protect the people he loved. That's where we first hear the name Betty. He talks about her in the tapes like she was the love of his life, but there's a sense of dread in his voice when he mentions her. You can tell he lost her, that she left, or maybe he left her, that whatever he turned into, the Ice King, is what drove her away. And so deeply tragic because he wasn't evil. He wasn't choosing to be a villain. He was sick, losing himself piece by piece. And the crown was both his curse and his crutch. Watching Finn and Jake's expressions as they realized what they were seeing, it mirrors our realization that behind all the silly voices and penguin songs is a man who lost everything. Not just the people he loved, but even his name. He doesn't even remember who Simon Petrikov is. The crown erased his identity so thoroughly that he can't even see what's wrong anymore. The magic didn't just give him ice powers, it gave him madness. And the most painful part, no one around him really knows how to help. Finn and Jake are just kids. They don't know how to deal with the fact that their so-called enemy is actually just a broken old man desperately clinging to the version of himself he can't remember. And the Ice King doesn't know. That's the saddest part. He doesn't know that the people around him see him as a villain. He just thinks he's misunderstood. He thinks the princesses are playing hard to get. He thinks Finn and Jake are just rude roommates. He's lonely, so profoundly lonely. And because he can't remember being Simon, he doesn't even know what he lost. That's what makes Holly Jolly Secrets so important in the grander story of Adventure Time. It marks the first time we, as an audience, really see the Ice King, not just as a comic relief or a creepy wizard with ice powers, but as a man struggling with something he can't explain. A man who was once kind, once smart, once deeply in love, and is now reduced to fragments of the past, clinging to his journals, his princess fantasies, and his penguin family because they're all he has left. It reframes everything. Every moment after this episode hits differently. The next time he shows up to kidnap a princess, we're not just annoyed, we're worried, we're sad, because now we know what Finn and Jake didn't at first, that the Ice King isn't a villain, he's a victim, a survivor of his own mind, trapped in a loop of loneliness and confusion. A man who once wanted to protect people and now can't even protect himself. And the storytelling here is just brilliant. Adventure Time didn't stop to explain it all in some long flashback. They let us discover it, just like Finn and Jake did. The VHS tapes, the grainy footage, the shaky camera, it all made it feel real. Like we were watching memories decay in front of our eyes. Like we were witnessing something sacred. Something private that was never meant to be seen, but needed to be seen. That raw accidental reveal is why this moment stays burned in our memories. Because it didn't shout, "Hey, this is important," it just quietly let Simon speak. And the silence between his words, that was the loudest part of all. When Simon says, "I'm sorry, Betty," in one of the tapes, it's not just a throwaway line. It's a man apologizing to a life he lost, a woman he loved, and a world he's no longer a part of. And what's wild is that at this point in the show's run, we barely know Betty. But even then, her name hurts, because you can feel how much she mattered. Even in his madness, her name lingered. That tells you everything. There's something deeply human about Simon's story. He didn't get hit by a beam of evil energy. He didn't make some deal with a demon. He just put on a crown, thought it was cool. And that one tiny choice ruined his life. And yet, he never truly stopped trying to be kind. That part of him, even buried beneath centuries of madness, never fully disappeared. That's what makes it all so sad and so beautiful. This is where the sympathy begins. This is where the Ice King becomes one of the most complex, heartbreaking characters in Adventure Time. Not because of what he does, but because of what he can't remember doing, because of who he used to be, and because of how little of Simon is left to fight back. Simon and Marceline. Why does that pairing hurt so much? And why is it so unforgettable? If Holly Jolly Secrets broke our hearts, then I remember you straight up shattered them into tiny little shards and whispered, yeah, he used to be someone to her. Adventure Time doesn't just throw drama at you, it lets it build slowly, like a memory that's being hidden in plain sight. Because from the very beginning of the show, Ice King and Marceline had these weird, uncomfortable interactions. He tried to hang out with her like nothing's wrong, and she'd just ignore him or get annoyed or sad, and we really didn't know why until we did. When I Remember You dropped, it turned everything upside down. The episode follows Ice King trying to get help writing a song to win over the princesses. Classic Ice King, right? He shows up at Marceline's house uninvited, brings his weird antics, and just won't leave. But Marcy isn't annoyed, not really. She's devastated, because she knows who he is, or rather, who he used to be. The trick begins to unravel as they start working on the song. Ice King's lyrics are nonsense, jumbled, eerie, incoherent. But the more Marceline listens, the more something familiar creeps in. The lyrics are actually fragments of letters, words Simon wrote to her when she was just a little girl, when he was still Simon, when the world had just ended and he was doing everything he could to keep her alive. That's when we get the flashbacks, the mushroom war, the apocalypse, a small vampire girl and a tired, broken man, wandering a ruined earth, dodging danger, scavenging for food, and just trying to survive. Simon was her guardian, her protector. He wasn't just a random adult who helped once. He raised her. He gave her stuffed animals. He read to her. He carried her on his shoulders when she was too tired to walk. He protected her with everything he had, even as the crown started to destroy his mind. He kept the crown on not because he wanted to, but because without its power, he couldn't defend her. He sacrificed his own sanity, bit by bit, just to make sure she could live. And you can see it in every flashback, every scene where he's losing his grip but still trying to smile for her, still calling her sweetie, still telling her everything's gonna be okay, even though he knows it won't be for him. And now she's grown and he's forgotten. What she knew is gone, and in his place is this weird rumbling lizard who plays drums on spaghetti and calls her Marcy Poo. It's like some stranger. He doesn't remember the nights they spent hiding from the monsters. He doesn't remember how she cried when he disappears. He doesn't even remember her, and yet she forgives him. That's what makes this episode so powerful. Marceline could have hated him, could have cut him off, but she loves him, even now, even as Ice King, because she remembers Simon. She remembers what he did for her, and she sees the tiny hidden glimpses of him that still surface, even if he doesn't know they're there. That's why the ending song hits so hard. I remember you. 3 words that say everything. She sings to the man who can't remember her, but she's not asking for his memory. She's given hers. She's telling him, I remember what you did. I remember how you loved me, and even if you don't, I still love you. It's devastating. The Ice King just thinks they made a good jam. He doesn't realize he just relived a piece of his old life. But Marceline, she's left in tears, because for a second, she almost had him back. And then he was gone. Episodes like this are what makes Adventure Time so special. It could have just been about candy people instilling magic and epic sword fights, but instead, it told human stories. Messy, emotional, real stories. Simon and Marcy's bond is one of those stories, full of grief, memory loss, sacrifice, and unconditional love. And the fact that it isn't resolved, that's what makes it feel real. Simon doesn't magically get better. Marceline doesn't get her dad back. They just live with it. With the pain, with the loss, with the love that still lingers even when everything else is gone. What's also crazy is that this was a kid's show. Like, imagine being a kid and watching this, not fully grasping the depth of it. And then you grow up and rewatch it and suddenly it hurts, because now you understand. Now you know what it means to lose someone slowly, to watch them fade, to hold on to memories they don't even realize they gave you. Yeah, that's the story of Simon and Marcy, and it continues across the series, in little moments, in songs, in glances, in heartbreak. And when Come Along With Me rolls around and Simon is finally free from the crown, that reunion doesn't fix everything, but it means everything. Because Marceline finally gets to see him again, not just the man he is now, but the man he was, even if it took 1,000 years. And Simon, he remembers her. He remembers everything. That's the closure, not a magical reset, not a perfect happy ending, just a moment of recognition and love. That's the thing with Adventure Time. It doesn't always fix what's broken, but it honors it. It gives the pain space. And Simon and Marcy's story is proof that sometimes loving someone means holding on to them even after they're gone, even when they're standing right in front of you, not knowing who you are. Betty Groff, the final piece of Simon's heart. If Marceline's story showed us Simon's pain, then Betty showed us his hope, the piece of his past he tried to hold on to even when the world kept slipping away. So let's go back, way back. Simon and Betty were partners in every sense of the word, intellectually, emotionally, romantically. He was a curious professor, and she was a brilliant student. They challenged each other, they understood each other, they were in love. And then he found the crown. The moment Simon put it on, everything changed. We know this, but we never got to see what Betty experienced until later in the series. And when we finally did, it was a gut punch, because she didn't just lose the man she loved, she watched him disappear, in real time. One day he's proposing to her, the next he's muttering nonsense, drawing runes, laughing at walls, obsessed with ice and snow and visions that no one else can see. She didn't get to say goodbye, he was just gone. And here's where it gets even more tragic. Betty spends 1,000 years trying to save him. When she jumps into that time portal, she sacrifices her entire life, her future, just for a chance to fix the past. She lands in the apocalypse, sees what the world has become, and doesn't care. Her mission isn't to survive, it's to get Simon back. And what's messed up? Simon doesn't even know she's doing it. At that point, he's fully Ice King. He doesn't remember her, he doesn't even recognize her when they first meet. She's standing there, shaking, crying, risking everything, and he just shrugs and asks if she wants to hear a song about penguins. But Betty doesn't give up. She tracks down ancient magic, teams up with Magic Man, a bad idea by the way, gets involved in all sorts of cosmic chaos just to maybe find a way to bring Simon back. She even wears the same dress she wore the day he proposed. That small detail, that destroys me every time. She's holding on to a memory so tightly, it's basically the only thing keeping her going. And then finally, she gets her wish. And come along with me, the crown is destroyed, Simon is free, the madness ends, and we finally get to see the real him again. He's older, confused, heartbroken, but he's himself. And that moment, when he looks around, realizes he's no longer the Ice King, and calls out for Betty, it's beautiful and terrifying, because he realizes too late that she's gone, because Betty made the final sacrifice. In the Obsidian Special and Fiona and Cake spin-off, we dive deeper into this. We see that Betty didn't just bring him back, she became something else entirely. She fused with Golb, one of the most terrifying cosmic entities in the Adventure Time universe. Why? To keep Simon safe, forever. She gave up her humanity, her memories, her identity, just to protect him from the madness that ruined their lives. And even though she succeeded, she's not coming back. That's what hurts me the most about this entire arc, because Simon knows he's back now, he's lucid, he's himself, but the woman who loved him, who chased him across time, who fought chaos himself for him, is gone, and he can never thank her, never hug her, never grow old with her like they planned. He's just left with the unbearable knowledge that someone loved him so much they stopped existing just to save him. And you know what makes this even more tragic? Betty didn't do it to make Simon owe her. She didn't want glory. She didn't want thanks. She just loved him. That's it. Just like how Simon loved Marceline enough to lose his mind to protect her, Betty loved Simon enough to lose everything to bring him back. And now Simon, he's stuck with all of it. He's no longer the Ice King. He doesn't have any magic. He's just a regular guy. A broken man with a deep past, 1,000-year memory, and no way to undo what's been done. He spends the Fiona and Cake series trying to find purpose, searching for answers, wrestling with guilt, all while remembering everyone he's lost, all while trying to move forward in a world where he no longer fits. And yet, even with the heartbreak, there's still something incredibly human about Simon's story. He's not a hero because he fought monsters, he's not a villain because he wore a cursed crown. He's just someone who tried to protect the people he loved, who lost himself in the process, and now who has to live with the consequences. Betty's sacrifice in the final note in Simon's song, a haunting, beautiful, tragic crescendo that reminds us just how deep Adventure Time goes. Because at its core, this show has always been about relationships, about love, about memory, about loss, and about finding meaning in the middle of chaos. Simon and Betty didn't get a fairy tale ending, but their story still mattered, deeply. It reminded us that love is powerful, that it's messy, that sometimes more of us than we're prepared to give, and it reminded us that even in the world of candy people, shape-shifting dogs, and ancient demons, the most powerful thing is a person who chooses to love anyway. Which chapter of Simon's journey moved you the most? Was it the chilling reveal in the Holly Jolly Secrets, the tender bond of Simon and Marcy, the duet in I Remember You, Betty's desperate rescue in Betty, or her final act of love, Come Along With Me? Drop the episode title and your own feelings in the comment below. Your stories help us all feel less alone in our own battles with memory, loss, and love. If Simon's saga touched your heart, you want to dive into my deep dive on Marceline's evolution next, where we unpack how the Vampire Queen's backstory intertwines with every BW's history. Click to watch, and let's keep following these words and stories together, and I'll see you in the next timeline.